That can't be true, I said to myself quietly as all of my memories of Barry began to flash before my eyes. All the times that he smiled despite everything. All the times that he encouraged me. All the times that he was there for me. Just gone. A whole person. Someone who was so important. So important to me. So important to everyone else in Forever Recess. So important to Emily. And just like that, he was gone. I never got to say goodbye. He never got to see the inside of Newgate City. I never got to see his 12th birthday. My mind filled with the endless list of things that Barry would never see. And things that I would never see Barry do. The things he would never say to me again. The stupid jokes that I'd never get to hear. All of the terrible sing-alongs to radio music that I'd never hear again. From that point on, the rest of the car ride was spent in silence. I couldn't bring myself to say anything, just ride along. I didn't even bother to check if back to our base of operations was where they were actually headed. They could have been driving in any direction in the world, and for hours I wouldn't have noticed. But eventually, we made it back to our base of operations, and what we saw there, well, it was chaos. The entire place looked like it had been through the ringer. Bullet holes in everything. Explosion mark after explosion mark, where it looked like RPGs had torn through the walls. Blown up cars scattered about. Bodies lying scattered around. Of gang members looking like they were headed for the base, but got gunned down. As we pulled up in the vehicle, quickly the doors to the base began to open up. Large garage doors that led into the factory that we were staying in. We drove in without any hesitation, seeing our friends on the inside, waving us in a hurry. Still looking like they were on the lookout for something else, on edge. As we pulled to a stop on the inside of the building, and we all began to crawl out, Emily was the first one there. Seeing Mickey help me out of the car, Emily immediately lunged at me, hugging me tightly. "Oh my God, I am so glad you're okay," she shouted, tears in her eyes as she clutched onto me. Okay, she said, as she finally let me go and began scanning around, looking at the rest of the people exiting the vehicle. It was at that point that she noticed that Barry wasn't getting out with the rest of us. "Barry? Barry?" Emily shouted, starting to look frantic. "Jax, where is Barry?" I didn't reply. To be honest, I didn't even know what to say. Emily had known Barry even longer than I had. How was I supposed to tell her? But, truth be told, it didn't take her that long to figure it out. Just one look at me and the look on my face seemed to be more than enough to get the job done. "No, he can't be," Emily said, backing away from me, beginning to cover her face as the tears began to well, collapsing into her knees and beginning to cry. All of the other kids gathered around, observing as Emily cried. I stood there. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? I thought to myself furiously over and over again, looking at Emily crying. I'll just screw it up. If I try to do anything, if I try to say anything, I'll just screw it up. I thought to myself, maybe to escape the responsibility. Maybe it was honest. Or maybe I didn't want to make things worse. Truth be told, I still don't know. But in the moment, all I could do was stand there. What happened here? One of the other guys in the vehicle that survived the raid on the caravan, the little convoy that we had going, announced as he started looking around. One of the nearby gangs, they hit us hard. There were lots of them. They had guns and rocket launchers. I don't know how long the fight went on, but they didn't get inside. We kept them out. Eventually, they packed up and left. Well, what was left of them. A few of us got pretty badly hurt, but luckily none of us are dead. But the place, well, it's seen better days. And it was at that point that Emily finally made her way through the tears, beginning to wipe her eyes as she stood back up. "It's okay, guys," Emily said. "You're still alive. The defense is held. We just need a plan, that's all. We knew that something like this would be possible. They thought we'd be pushovers, and they were wrong. We're still here. And they lost lots of guys. They're not going to be back anytime soon. We need a plan. We need to know what to do." "What if you're wrong?" one of the girls in the crowd shouted. "What if they do come back? What if there are more of them next time?" "Yeah," another kid shouted, before there was a scrambling of concerned faces, some of them uttering the same words, all of them screaming for answers, scared, beginning to panic. "Jax, what do we do? You have a plan, right? Do we hit them back? Do we mount our defenses? You have a plan. Tell us what's going on. What do we do?" All of the children shouted in succession, one after another. They began to approach me like a swarm, looking at me, all of their faces a mixture of terrified and panicky. "You're in charge now, right? What do we do?" "Me? In charge?" I thought to myself as they continued to stare at me, all of them closing in on me, looking scared, panicked, some even angry, asking me again and again, "What are we going to do? What's the plan, Jax? You're in charge now, Jax." And in the moment, I don't know what exactly compelled me, but I remember feeling a deep sense of fear and anxiety, overwhelmingly so. "I just fix things. I make stupid little gadgets. I build stuff. I'm not a tactician. I don't know what I'm doing," I thought to myself furiously. Or at least, I think I was thinking it. I don't exactly know when the bridge happened, when things went from being in my head to being out loud. But before I could really realize that I was doing it, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. "I don't know. I don't know. All I do is fix stuff. I build gadgets. I make tools. I don't know what you want me to tell you. I don't have a plan," I shouted at the top of my lungs, gripping on my head that felt like it was pounding, so hard that it even drowned out the pain in my abdomen. "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just build stuff," I said, still gripping my head as I backed away, looking at all of their faces as they stared at me, yelling, all of them looking even scareder than they were before. They expected me to be in charge. They expected me to know what to do, to know how to protect them. But I didn't know, or at least I didn't have faith that I could. I was overwhelmed, terrified. My heart was pounding out of my chest again as my eyes darted between all of their different terrified faces. My breathing was absolutely out of control, frantically breathing, almost hyperventilating, as the world just seemed out of control. Nobody was moving, and yet it felt like everything was flying 100 miles an hour. And before I even realized what I was doing, I just started running. Pain in my waist be damned. I just ran. I pulled open the garage door without any hesitation whatsoever, crawled underneath it, and just ran. I ran as far as my legs could carry me. I have no idea how far that was, how long I ran. All I know is that the last thing I remember from that little jaunt was that it was well into night before I completely lost track of what was going on. I think that I passed out. The next time I woke up, it appeared that I had been picked up by a mechanic passing by, someone who saw some kid laying on the side of the road bleeding, and apparently had enough pity to pick him up so he wouldn't die there. A guy who owned his own garage, a place called Al's Auto, and that's where I spent my life up to this point. Eventually, I ran back into M. According to her, after I ran, she dispersed Forever Recess as the last official leading member. She took what resources we had and divided them amongst the people there, and allowed them to decide what they were doing for themselves with what resources that they had been given. Many of them decided to stay together, simply move away and change location. Others scattered off on their own, and M did so as well, eventually meeting up with me at Al's Auto, whilst looking for new people to make business arrangements with. To be honest, I have no idea why she forgave me for it. It was cowardly. To be honest, every time I think about it, the only thing that I can feel is just shame. A shame that I couldn't do it, or that I was too afraid to try. I said, as I stood in my father's office, regaling him with the story of my life. "It wasn't all your fault, Jax," I heard Emily say from nearby, as I turned around to see her with a very sad expression on her face, wiping a few tears. "The truth is, there was nothing to forgive. You were just a kid, Jax. So was I. The real question you should have asked is, why didn't I try to take any of the responsibility? Why didn't I say we'd come up with a plan together? Instead, I selfishly forced it all on you. I got so used to Barry just taking charge of everything, of just following his lead. I was supposed to be one of the leaders too, and yet, when it came right down to it, I was so afraid of taking any responsibility myself that I tried to force it all on you. Make you the replacement Barry. Expect you to take charge in an instant, to know what to do and to have all the answers. It was just fear and selfishness. That's why I didn't have a problem with you when we met up again, Jax. It's because, in all honesty, you ran away because I failed you as a teammate. I should have helped you shoulder the responsibility, instead of just forcing you to take it all yourself. So of course I wasn't angry at you when I met you again. Truth be told, I thought you'd be angry at me, and I was relieved that you weren't.